Okay. Now, there has been a situation, it's not been today, but some may admit that it has gotten to a certain proportion or level, and it is about the polarization politically of the media, individuals in the media, and then of the country at large. You hear a journalist does one story, and the next day he's tagged, he's NDC or he's MPP, and particularly within the period, it's been mostly you are MPP because you are doing something that does not speak well of the government. How was this really manifested, and how did people take it? How did you also take it, and what do you think is the way forward? Of course, even individuals, ordinary members of the country, of the society, you say something against the government and you were told that you were hating, and that hate does not win. You have heard that cliche. Right. So once again, Egbert, you edit you publish, I suppose, yeah. You publish the Ghanaian Observer newspaper. Is it the case that the paper takes a stand politically, and so you do what you do and cannot be bothered what is said about you?
Yes, something. Not that we do what we do and cannot be bothered. I think that we are subject to regulatory, bodies like the NMC and even to an extent the courts. So for me, yes, the paper has a vision, has a passion. The paper supports democratic governance. The paper supports pluralism. The paper does human rights. The paper is committed to Agenda Ghana. In prosecuting Agenda Ghana, however, the paper is opposed to social democracy. And so if you find a political party that is social democratic, yes, they have good sides and they have bad sides. When they do the good things, we'll say it. And I'm sure that we have a few editorials and front page comments that have lauded one or two initiatives or actions of the outgoing government. But let me be very, 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 very blunt once more. I don't see why people worry about the media and where media persons stand. I don't see it. Yeah. Let me tell you, the first newspaper in this republic, or the Gold Coast, was brought into being by, I think, Sir Charles McCarthy, or is it Governor McLean, one of them. The Gold Coast Gazette. I think there was also the Commercial Intelligencer. Those were to parody or to do what the wishes of the Queen or the British realm wanted. Over a period, there was the need for, the independence movement to drive or propel itself forward. You had the likes of Dr. J.B. Dankwa coming with their newspapers, Dr. Nanka Bruce coming with that. Several Gold Coasters set up. All those newspapers were private newspapers, and they were political. It was over a period that Cecil King brought about the daily, what has now become the Daily Graphic. And then, you had this General Ankra's famous dictum of he who pays the piper calls a tune. But then those days, it was about the state media. And if you're in the state media, you cannot but afford to, in the spirit of those days, support the government of the day by your editorial writings and all the rest. Nkrumah himself brought his Accra Evening News, or the Evening News, Cape Coast Daily Mail, where Kweku Bako's father and Kojo Botu were editors at a point, and all of that. They got harassed, punished, and all those things for their political stances. So when you find private newspapers today, and I'm speaking from a private newspaper perspective, take a position or say they support this government, you have the best punishment you can give to that paper is to refuse to buy that paper because you don't like what they write. Also. But the fact that the paper must, and if the paper tells lies or defames people, right, you take them to court, you take them to the media court. So come to the private radio stations as well. They also have a right to say that, well, as far as we are pro this or pro that, all that is important is to give balance and coverage to, divergent opinions, and then just go within the canons of journalism. Beyond that, what else can anybody? So I'm not too worried. Look, in the United Kingdom, in the United States, newspapers and media, they stand with the political class. They some endorse. In the last election, my paper endorsed Nana Akufo-Addo. And we've been endorsing, look, at a point in time, even when President Mills was a private citizen and was contesting Diana, Kwesi Botwe, and all the rest of them, my paper took a position and endorsed President Mills over all the others. Then he was candidate Mills.
Okay.
We went into the CPP, we endorsed Dr. Indum over his competitors. We went into the MPP, we endorsed Nana Akufo-Addo over his competitors. And when it came to the national election, we endorsed Nana Akufo-Addo over all the rest of them. You understand? So let people, calm down with this. I have no regrets if you tag me as being I'm a member of the MPP anyway. I have no regrets if you tag me as being pro MPP or my paper being pro MPP. I pay monies for the paper to be published.
Yes, but that's the other aspect.
Yes.
That you lose advertising, revenue. When a government that perceives you as doing the NPP's job is in office, they don't send adverts your way.
In the last 8 years, I don't think that my paper has gotten government adverts worth 10,000 Ghana cedis, like over the spectrum of 8 years. You understand?
Seriously?
Yes. But I have no qualms, I have no regrets, because I would have also thought that if President Mahama and his government say, what do you call it? Yes, I mean, these papers, they don't support us. But I believe in the media. So, give them adverts. Yeah. But nothing happened.
The president's
I don't complain.
The president's campaign put adverts in the Daily Guide, and it became an issue.
Yeah, and some
members said that no, that shouldn't happen.
Yeah. Well, that is that. Maybe Daily Guide has a certain marketing matrix that makes it imperative that you advertise there. No problem. Some have added business dimensions and all the rest of it. Some of us are in the, publish newspapers, not necessarily because we want to, if you like, make so much money from the media. It is, for me, it is an infant calling. Right from preparatory school, when we're learning about people who made the independence movement take, I realized that, look, most of the people who drove the independence movement and drove it so well were lawyers and politicians. And I made a promise myself growing up that I'll be a lawyer and a media, a newspaper owner.
Okay.
For me,
and a senior politician.
I have arrived. I think a promise I gave to myself as a growing child, God has been kind to me. I've been able to. So let the media be. Just let's worry about professionalism and the fact that people who operate various newspapers or media houses, no matter their political affiliations, will just act professionally. For me, that should end the story.
Well, I doubt if Kwame will share the same view with you, more particularly because you are known to be in the NPP, and that's what you do. You support the NPP. You're a card-bearing member of the NPP. Kwame is not. So how do you take it when you sit on your show and do your job as a journalist? And sometimes today you are called NPP, the next day you are called NDC. How do you process all of that?
Egbert has answered. He says he suffers. Well, Samson, it's I've developed this Teflon guy attitude to it all. Let them throw it, and
you mean dead goat syndrome?
Well, I didn't use that. well, dead goat syndrome, if you like. The moment you work in the public space, you'll be perceived one way or the other.
Okay.
If you speak the truth and it benefits Party A, Party B will think you're a sympathizer of Party A. If it's the other way around, same thing. And if you want to do your job as professionally as you can, do it with your conscience at rest and let the chips fall where they may. I've been, lately I'm MPP because that's what the perception is. There are radio stations that are sympathetic to the NDC that have used Kweku Baako and I as one of their main issues. And it's been running for like a year. But you don't let those things depress you.
Okay.
You don't let those things put you down. If your conscience is clear and you know you're a professional, you're doing your job the way you know is right, you don't bother. I don't have a problem with people, journalists who align with Party A or Party B. I think it's perfectly normal. They are human beings, they have their political preferences, and it's fine by me. But as long as they remain professional, as long as Egbert used the phrase canons of journalism or canons of the work, As long as they uphold the pillars of the profession, I have absolutely no problem with it. If somebody thinks you are NDC or you have NDC leanings, and it is true, fine. Does it affect how your work output, does it affect it? Are you biased unnecessarily? Because we all cannot be neutral, fair, balanced fully. We have our biases, we have our preferences. And so as long as it doesn't, distort the larger picture, big deal.
Do you feel a compulsion of sort to do, because you have done this, I need to do that to balance it so that I am not tagged as NPP? Because I've done this story, which is so terrible about the NPP, let me check in the NDC what there is to do.
So you go fishing.
And I'm asking you that question, and it's difficult asking because very recently you made these comments that I still play back. It went viral, social media everywhere, when you took the police on, you took the EC, almost everybody, apart from yourself.
That's a good one.
I don't go out looking for balance, i.e., because I have said something that is not palatable to the NDC, let me find something for the NPP to equalize. No. The issue on the table is what I discuss. What I feel like saying is what I say. I am not saying it to please or to seek support or to look for favors. I am not perfect, but at least I'm not fake. I may not be perfect, but I'm not fake. As long as what I'm saying to me is the truth, it has no malicious intention, put it out there. If NPP doesn't like it, big deal. If NDC doesn't like it, big deal. I'm not here to please any of them.
You host the highest rating, and I think it's without controversy, morning show.
Yes.
And it's been running for years. You've been in that job for 17 years. 17 years.
I ran it for 16.
Okay.
Nano Hininto was the first presenter.
Right. Now, you do that job, and you say another radio station which is politically aligned makes its business to take you on to discuss you.
Exactly.
And put you in NPP against the NDC. And you say you can't be bothered?
Something. There's this thing that I read from somewhere. It says, I don't mean to be insulting, but it says when you're a giraffe and a tortoise keeps screaming at you or keeps hurling insults at you, they're reporting the view from their level. I mean, what am I going to do? Should I, because some of the things they've said are outright lies, insults, denigrating who I am, impugning my integrity and all of that. So should I hire Egbert to go to court? Should I hire something to go to court? I am not bothered.
Okay.
They are reporting the view from their level, so allow them.
Okay. I asking quickly that question is also difficult for various reasons, because as for him, I don't know whether he's a grand dead goat as far as that issue is concerned.
Super dead.
You know Ras Mubarak, the MP elect for Kumbungu constituency. He says that I doff my hat to Kweku Bako on this issue of appointments. There comes a time when we should rise above the partisanship, and that's what I expected of Egbert and Sefakai. God bless our homeland, Ghana. Okay, so there's a reason I read it when I'm coming to you on this issue of tagging. And this is NDC MP. And this is the group that's, let's be blunt about it, has disliked you for various reasons.
Yeah.
Even at times when we are speaking to an issue and speaking in favor of the government because on principle and by the facts as you know them, they favor the government or the state, and you're speaking, they don't hear. All they know is that you're going to speak and you speak against them. How do you process all of this in your business as a media person?
Well. It didn't begin today. No, as far back as in the 1970s, the Third Republic particularly. some of us were labeled. At one stage, I was even labeled a CIA agent. No, MI agent, that's military intelligence then, because we were defending the Constitution, not necessarily the PNP administration in all cases. We declared a certain policy of critical support.
Okay.
Meaning where the policy is good, it will be supported. Where it's bad, it will be criticized. But the one that was non-negotiable was the sustainability of the constitutional order. And yet, there were people on the other side who we had been together with in the June 4th explosion, who thought that we had become traitors. So they began to label us. I had a newspaper, Kwesi Pratt was then the managing editor, I was the Richard assistant, that's the Frontline Message,
okay,
which belonged to an organization known as the Monas. So the labeling began till 31st happened, and because of the labeling, the tagging, immediately we were perceived as enemies. Of course, we were against the coup, because that's what we were preventing, and one went to jail for that. Beyond that, under PNDC, working with the Free Press and all the rest, were tagged as anti-government. It led us to prison. 1986, one fine morning, I was sitting in the office when they came for me. I used to write on labor issues, and the TUC had embarked on this. There was this abolition of leave allowances and things, you know. So they came for me and sent me to Kitikrachi, far away Kitikrachi prisons. So the tagging, in some cases, resulted in political persecution, and for that matter, even detention. Throughout that period, one developed certain immunity, you know, against those things. And I decided, look, my conscience, my conviction, my commitment, the little knowledge that I have, and the totality of my experiences put together is what drives my advocacy, whether in the media or in the political field. I was a very active political player until 2005, when I decided that, look, I'll refocus and actually emphasize the media aspect rather than politics. I still belong to the CPP as a member. So my bias is clear. I'm an Nkrumahist. If you like, I'll tell you I'm even a Marxist. That's true, ideologically, I'm on the left. My understanding of Ghanaian history and everything is driven by the Nkrumah legacy, you know. But here we are in a constitutional order, and I'm going to restrict myself to the Fourth Republic. There's no doubt that, and I've stated this over and over again, the NDC as a political creature, I cannot reconcile myself with that one, as a political creature. But there are fantastic people in the NDC. I have fantastic friends there. Some I fought with in the trenches against military dictatorship in the 70s. And we still are friends, in spite of the fact that they've jailed me a couple of times. I still sit with them, we drink, we eat. We used to chase women those days.
But did you have to add that?
Just being blunt.
Brutally frank.
Yes. You see, so there's that friendship. It's no antagonism. But when it comes to issues of public interest, national interest, we all take a stand. And I do. I have no shame at all that, for instance, somebody like Nana Akufo-Addo, I know there are people, MPP guys, who like me a lot. They praise me a lot.
Yeah.
Anytime it comes to issues that concerns President Mahama and I take a stand, they say, when it comes to Mahama, Kweku loses his objectivity.
Right.
Then my objectivity is restored when I defend Akufo-Addo.
Yes.
I say, interesting. What can I do about that? So recently I went through issues, whether I asked myself, Kweku, have you not criticized President Mahama? Maybe you haven't. So do a search. And I did a search. Then I realized that, well, people don't hear when I criticize Mr. Mahama. So, and Ketsi Joy, I realized, see, this is November 18, 2015. Mahama's response to incompetent comments shows he's weak and cowardly. This is me. Angry Baku blast Mahama over Kumasi comment. All this is from Joy. It's me. Kweku Baako condemns Mahama for attacking Akufo-Addo. Mahama goofed big time with redenomination claim. That was said on this program. Kweku Baako criticized government on free SHS U10. Kweku Baako dismisses Mahama's call for presidential debate. It is not an insult to say Mahama is incompetent. This was his battle with Baumia.
Right.
And many more. But I realize that people don't hear this one. Okay? All they want to hear is a vigorous attack. Why should I do that if I'm not convinced? And if I cannot defend what I say? I cannot.
Okay.
You see, the media out there is a plural one. That's what I thought we all voted for. We have a plural media, both in the electronic and the print. There are different shades politically. That is where the key is. Media pluralism is the cure for unprofessional journalism or partisan journalism. Indeed, the National Media Commission's print guidelines says a media person can be partisan, except you must be factual, okay, and fair in your presentation. But you are entitled, and Egbert alluded to those things in the US. I went to America 1996, 97 as part of the group that the US aid sponsored, journalists, to follow the Republican convention then. We visited media houses and they were bold enough to tell us where they stood, whether as Democratic or Republican. In the UK, it's the same thing. Major newspapers, they are known for their ideological leanings.
It doesn't stop them from being factual. That's the point.
That's the point. You must be factual, you must be truthful. But you see, we're not perfect. So occasionally we make mistakes, sometimes very grave ones, out of our enthusiasm and lack of professionalism. I, sitting here, I've made serious errors. I've made serious mistakes in this profession. And so what? So to be honest with you, the target, coffee shop mafia. Let me end with that. People didn't even know the composition. He's our speaker though. Kwame is the boss there.
I learned about that last week when Randy Abe and Egbert were on Kweku Sechiado's show, and then they referred to him as the speaker.
Yes, he's the boss there.
Right.
And this is his eyes and ears.
I understand there's been a certain coup that...
He actually tried. He tried, but I showed him Monday.
Right.
No?
Okay.
Look, it's made up of not just journalists. That's what people didn't know. There were lawyers there. There were doctors. There were businessmen. Then there were politicians. But it's these faces what people see.
Right.
And we were attacked, maligned, left, right, center, Kufuor, boys and all that. You just have to keep your head above the water and do your work, okay? So to be honest with you...
What you do there is discuss the topical issues when you meet there in the evening.
Of course. Look, we disagree, we fight, not physically.
Yeah.
Yes. Serious. And there are people who belong to coffee shop mafia whose political affiliation is NDC.
Okay.
Some journalists.
Right.
Yes. And we all know that, you are NDC, I'm pro MPP, you are pro CPP, but it was a group. And yet we kept on hearing as if it was just a group that was in support exclusively of the NPP. In any case, when the NDC 3 administration came into office, you could see everybody stand on different issues.
Right.
Exactly what happens at the coffee shop base. So for tagging me, I have an immunity for it. It doesn't
You
affect
said that
me.
was going to be your last comment, but let me invite you on this one. And once again, we're being brutally frank again on this show to the very final one. We have had situations where we have had NPP complain about you because they say you don't represent their views.
That's right.
There are matters that you comment on that they are not happy about.
I know.
They wish you could be jettisoned. We could get you out and get somebody from NPP in your seat. We have had the NDC also fight vigorously about this. There have been times we have had to hold meetings you know, as far as the NDC is concerned, with, you know, very important people in the NDC, meeting our top leaders to discuss how they feel about all of these things. So how do you feel then that one moment, or for a good much of the time, you are said to not to speak for this group, and then the next time the group that you are tagged as speaking for also is against you?
Yes, the issues. They've forgotten something. They should look at the issues. Depending on which issues I take,
right,
I take a stand. Let's be honest, I'm not always right. There are times that I've been wrong. There are times that upon sober reflection, post-event, I do analysis, I realize that, look, you're wrong here. And you need to have the courage to concede you were wrong. And then if you were to do retraction apologies, you do it. But, I mean, my brother, we didn't arrive today.
We set forth a
long journey. And I'll tell you something. This I'm not sure if I've said this before. It was whilst in detention, 1982. I was there for 2 years. It was during that period that I sat down and I told myself, nobody dictates to you how you do your advocacy, whether right or wrong. Nobody will dictate how I speak or do things. So when I'm wrong because I made that mistake fundamentally, and not because somebody asked me to do.
Right.
Yes. So I would plead. See, all the presidents that have come in this Fourth Republic, they were all friends, except one that perhaps you can say was a former friend, you know. But they were all friends. And it's not easy. We are all human. Look, I was soft on President Mills. I had known him earlier. I even, my paper, the Crusading Guide, published his campaign posters for free. Even though he knew that I won't vote for him, and my paper won't campaign for him. So I think that people should leave journalists alone to make their own mistakes and to make their own political choices.
Right.
There's a plural media out there, and that is the key.
Okay. Is Kwesi Press still a member of the coffee shop mafia?
No, he left. He left almost, if I'm not mistaken, almost a decade, or let's say
more than 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jojo Bukansa was, but he also left.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it from Kweku Bako, that his conscience, his conviction, and his commitment drives what he has to do as far as his advocacy is concerned. Now, very briefly, starting with Kwame.
Yes.
How do we go around? You are a big guy, so you say, well, I can't be bothered. I do my job, make sure I'm professional, so you can go and bend the sea with your tagging. But the manner in which it is elevated at the national level, there's concern, and statesmen have had cause to, you know, repeat the need to cut the polarization. What do you think? What are your suggestions, briefly?
Samson, these same statesmen, some of them, are the people who have caused this. I've said before that one of the things that plague us as a country is dishonesty and hypocrisy. We are afraid of being truthful. This polarization began, obviously, from the political terrain. We have our differences as a people. I mean, when I was growing up, there was Aibini, there was Pepini, there was Asantini. Those things were not a big deal then. Sometimes it was even said in jest, until so-called statesmen, or some statesmen and people in authority, people who should have known better, elevated these divisions into political language or political speak. It's grown over a long time, and we are where we are today because those who should know better have not been mature about it. If you set up a radio station with mature people behind it, and they run a consistent tribal ethnic hate agenda, and nobody speaks up, this is where it will bring us. If we see wrong, and for fear of being tagged, for fear of being victimized, for fear of being labeled too known, as we say, we don't speak up. Eventually, it is what will destroy us. And so it behoves on all of us, especially those of us who are in the front line of the public space, we should be able to speak the truth as it is. Tell Kweku Baako he is wrong on that agenda.
Right.
And say it with no malice. Just tell him that these are the repercussions of what you're doing. And let us all be responsible in our public utterances, in the way we encourage or discourage these things. And I'm sure that if we make a conscious effort at doing this, something eventually we probably would come out smelling like roses. Because the way we're going, we seem to be sweeping a lot of these things under the carpet. You know, television, radio, political campaign, rallies, the things we say about each other just to gain political favor. It will drive us down eventually if we are not careful.
Okay. Very interesting. And
but what happened to the names of those who on the government side
who didn't come for the show?
As far as I'm concerned, Dr. Manibuama was supposed to be at the show. Something, right?
My production has put a caveat on
they
it.
are wrong.
I'm not supposed to say
You can't
anything.
mention Randy and not mention
Randy
supposed to
Abbey
say-
excused himself a couple of days ago.
Right.
I know Dr. Manibuama was supposed to be, and now something tell me I'm wrong.
Code of silence.
My
has been
production says
imposed on you.
that I shouldn't speak about it. So that's where
Why
it
is your
ends.
production? Why are you threatening something?
Well, I work under a system. someone who is a good friend of yours wants me to ask about the media cabal. That how did you feel about it? That he knows that you may be a friend of the president, but when the president himself says that there's a cabal, how did you feel about it?
I felt sad for the president. If you know our media terrain very well, President John Dramani Mahama, himself a very, very media-friendly person, has quite a large media base. Radio stations, television stations, newspapers, online. So his presence in the media space is very prominent. If the president at any point felt that the so-called media cabal was blocking his good news from reaching the people, then I think he should look at his own media strategists, campaigners, and all of that. Some of them will spend airtime insulting others instead of pushing his message.
Okay.
And so it is the message his media fed us. Because I think that he's all over the place. His good work, all he did was all over the place. So they either were not pushing the right message or they were pushing the right message in the wrong manner.
Okay.
I don't think there was a cabal.
All right. Has this thing, just 30 seconds, has this thing about the, tagging and stuff threatened you, your family, your security before?
No, I don't think so. I mean, there are people who send you dirty messages.
Okay.
I don't put much emphasis on it. Except for sometime in 2005 or so, when someone sent me a death threat. That was the only time. And I read it on air. He sent it to me about 3 times, 3 separate days. I read it on air. I took his number. I mentioned his number on air. I said I was doing this and telling the police that this particular number keeps sending me threatening messages and all of that. But I've never felt insecure.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that I am not on guard, but I've never really felt insecure. No.
All right, CSM, but how do we, deal with the whole thing at the national level because of what our own leaders have consistently said is a danger for the country?
Well, let me, in answering that, let me also be very bold and say that there is a them and us mentality in this country. Right from the presidency to the lowest placed supporter or member of a political parties in this republic.
Okay.
It is always
Them and us.
them and us. Meneme. These people. That kind of thing. And so oftentimes you realize that people, struggle to say, look, he is our president. Yeah, you get ministers of state sit on radio and say, my president. But I thought that by law, President Mahama is president for all. And
President
so
of the Republic.
Of the Republic. Nana Akufo-Addo has said that he is going to be president for all. And knowing him, I know that's exactly what he will do. So let us, in our official communications, whether on the political soapbox, wherever we find ourselves, whether speaking to our partisan supporters, let us always, propel
One Ghana.
one Ghana. Let us always let that thing come out. It should not be the case that because Nana Akufo-Addo is coming into government, only MPP affiliated contractors will benefit from contracts. It should not be the case. But unfortunately, I'm able to say that President Mahama in that sphere lived up to that bill. As in, well, these people don't belong to us. He may be far removed from it, but his appointees, the agenda they prosecuted, they made sure that they ring fence people, whether contractors, whether what have you, from benefiting from legitimate work. And I think that going forward, we need to do a very conscious, effort. I think, and in that sphere, I think that from the Ghana I have seen, having been born, just around the Second Republic, just around when the Second Republic, I think when I was born, Prime Minister Buzia or President Akufo-Addo were in charge.
Very young.
Very young, yeah. Now,
But old enough.
But at least I saw the Achampon era because I was in preparatory school. And I remember this Achampon philosophy of one nation, one people. There was a national charter. One nation, one people, one destiny. We used to see them on articulated tracks and all the rest of that. I think we need to go back to that. We need to go back. As for differences and, positions, we would take them. But wherever we find ourselves, let us sue and labor for one Ghana.
Okay. Kuku, how dangerous is the polarization, and what are your solutions?
Well, I don't think it's that dangerous. Well, a young man with big brain, spoken, Yes, I don't think we are in danger of splitting this country apart. I don't think so. Look, where we've come from is no joke. This country has done very well, I'm not about to compare ourselves to Gambia and the rest, but but we've done well for ourselves. If you look within our own history and the fact that we've this particular republic, the fourth one, we have consistently sustained it, stabilized it, had elections, is it about 6 or 7, and done very well with it. Consolidating our democratic culture is the way forward. We have vibrant free press, very vibrant one, critical one. Okay, radio, look at the number of radio stations we have in this country. Look at the number of television stations that are coming up, the number of newspapers, the civil society groups. In fact, that's key. And let me be honest, I'm an associate member of Occupy Ghana, but he is. That advocacy, that new trend, where you have people who hitherto would not even want to be seen actively in doing public advocacy. That thing is critical. The Imani Ghanaians, the civil society group, they are all very, very, very important. That thing, watch it, that phenomenon. Then, of course, social media has also come to change.
There's actually one story, I think, by
dynamic.
one of the international media that actually focused on Occupy Ghana.
Yes.
And spoke about that phenomenon.
Yes, it is.
Which also caused the
Make no
the
mistake, it
government.
is. And the space the social media too is providing, it's amazing. I'm a bit deficient when it comes to technology, ICT, and all the rest. But you'll be surprised, I'm now out there.
Yeah, I read you engage people.
Yes, and I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
We want to put him on Instagram.
So this country is, I'm optimistic,
Okay.
to be honest with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.